I would like to open with words of my grandfather with his Mi'kmaq teachings, that new knowledge is old knowledge to new people. And as teachers, we are learners, and as learners, we are teachers.
Recent research is showing that differential diversity not only reduces prejudice, but has a number of surprising benefits. And these include more creative thinking, greater comfort in interacting with a diverse range of people, and a broader perspective on oneself and on the world, to name a few.
As Beverly talked about, I think one of the profound importances of studying social connection, why we launched the Social Connection Survey, is because loneliness kills. If you think about that, that's a really profound statement, to think that our social relationships, that people are literally dying earlier, and not just in ways in terms of shorter lifespans, but increasing rates of suicide and those sorts of issues, really highlight the critical issues that are associated with languishing and being alone, and how critical it is for us to find those connections. Studies going back to the 80s have demonstrated this, but yet we're not seeing the uptake of this information in a way that is changing policy and changing how Canadians think about social connection.
At moments where people felt less socially connected and more lonely than they typically did, they tended to use their smartphones more afterwards. Okay, so putting together those second and third results, what does that suggest? To me, it suggests a potential vicious cycle of loneliness, wherein people tend to turn to their smartphones rather than seeking live social interaction when they feel lonely, but that actually tends to result in more loneliness.
This entire conference is about is until people understand the why, so the education about human connection, trying to get people to take action becomes a bit of a challenge. So this is where we're really focusing our time and attention right now. And through social media, for 5 years, we've posted every day, educating people about the importance of social connection. But conferences like this blow this opportunity up to get more people to become part of the human connection movement and spread this out to all Canadians.
Social capital is built by human connection and human association, and it makes a huge difference to the way society can function. And whether that human connection is not only good for individual health, individual mental health, but social and societal health. And whether this is necessary, this is a necessary thing that we have to do to dig ourselves out of what looks like a divided society, which is struggling both south of the border and north of the border.
People want to connect with people that are like-minded. And in a group of less than 100 people, few dream of being with tens of thousands of people. Now, that's not to say that environments with tens of thousands of people don't have their place, but it's the connection. The point here is the connection with those few people that are the most important right now and are the most important moving forward. So people want to live. Your brand, your organization, your institution will benefit if you focus on what excites and on getting people together.
I am a big advocate of reframing the conversation. Too much time is spent talking about how we can address isolation and loneliness. And there's tremendous power in reframing from what's been going wrong to what can go right, from fixing deficits to building assets, and from taking a reactive approach to taking a proactive approach, right? We can be much more imaginative and generative around novel approaches to both lessen widespread loneliness, but also prevent it in the first place and build up social health as a resource moving forward if we take this kind of mindset shift and pivot the conversation in this way.
I like to focus more on the human aspect of it and what it costs employees. And again, some of you may be familiar, there have been some excellent meta-analyses done in looking at this as a social health and public health calamity, and it affects mortality rates, it affects suicide rates, and lots of other aspects of the workforce in terms of their mental, physical, and emotional health. So think about it. If you have a significant number of employees who are lonely, they may not only be less productive and not working as well with others, but they may be the people who are, you're finding, having higher healthcare costs. Maybe they have some aspects of things you would never attribute to loneliness, but we know it can be a risk factor for things like cancer and dementia and diabetes and other types of illnesses. So indirectly and directly, loneliness has a huge cost for the people of the organization and the organization itself financially.
I could listen to her all day long. I mean, it was like practical tools for every single human being on the planet to become self-aware of and to be vulnerable and to just, there's nothing wrong with saying I feel lonely or I feel sad or whatever that emotion is, and to be able to reach out to other people for support. And that's what it's all about. And I started McKay's CEO Forum 17 years ago because I could see that it was lonely at the top.
One, we talked about, it's really about the power of connection, the power and importance of connection. It's the where of that is the thing to focus on, right? It's the doing it, right, that matters, the finding time for it, the intentionality around it. I think the second thing we heard is not just with the usual suspects, right? So if we think about inclusivity, if we think about diversity of opinion, it's sort of not lapsing back to, well, I know Carl already, so I'm just going to kind of connect with Carl. It's as leaders and I think as people finding ways to make sure that everyone is included and all voices are heard and that we're actively seeking out new connections. That's the second kind of piece I heard. And the third piece I heard, Connie, and I want to come back to kind of some of your remarks is, you know, it's not easy and there isn't a simple fix, right?
The loneliness goes very deep, but also has these serious knock-on effects. And I have to say, to some extent, I am one of those people who has changed their mind. I remember when this first issue was coming through, particularly in health issues, I remember I was working in diabetes at the time, and I remember thinking, oh, great, that's just something else to worry about. But actually, it is often the solution. Think about human connection and loneliness is often the solution to your problems, because
now we have an opportunity to interact with true global organizations like the World Health Organization to partner and to elevate this and to put more policy levers and opportunities to really take action across the globe for low and middle income countries, not just the wealthiest among us. So we're thrilled to be doing this work and thrilled to be continuing to grow in the scope and impact that we're going to have.
This is going to sound strange. I mean, my hope is that an organization like us actually doesn't need to exist anymore in 20 years. That we've actually shifted the language so much that it's embedded as just core business of what everyone does, how we live, how we work, how we play, how we learn. That loneliness isn't seen as an issue that it's caused by an individual. That the fact that we all need meaningful social connection is really very much entrenched in our thinking. And I don't need to be standing here talking about this issue in about 20 years.